Bill Carroll for Zinni 62 Sports Media, and of course, it's coaching carousel time again for college football. And as of now, with the recent decision that David Shaw at Stanford has made to step down, the number that stood at 9.92% of the 131 FBS programs in America is now the lowest it's been in quite some time. So we were already below 10%. We're now trending downward. The hope is obviously that some of the coaches that are still in positions that are still in play will be filled with black candidates. David Shaw has pretty much made it clear he's not looking to coach again right away. But my hope is that some of the really talented young coordinators that are out there, like Ryan Walters in Illinois, will get a chance. There's at least two really strong assistant coach black candidates at Michigan that I'm hoping, and of course their former coaches. Josh Gaddis is someone that should at least be in consideration. Mike Loxley is likely to stay at Maryland, but I know there's programs out there that might be interested in him. But think about the fact that just a few years ago, you had Derek Mason and Joker Phillips in the SEC, both gone. Turner Gill at one time was at Kansas, and you had John Embry at Colorado. Of course, they didn't have great success. I'm not arguing they should not have been fired. Uh, but we've seen coaches that certainly, and of course, I didn't mention Willie Taggart, of course, has recently also lost his position. So the number is, like I said, the lowest it's been in quite some time. I'm hoping that at some point, Miami's offensive coordinator, despite Miami struggling this year, it wasn't really their offense that was the problem, but I'm hoping that Josh Gaddis gets a chance. I'm hoping that Ryan Walters, who is I think everyone sees as an up and comer, gets his shot. Sharon Moore is the co-offensive coordinator now at Michigan. I'm hoping he gets a shot somewhere. I'm also watching the career of Zach Arnett. I think Zach Arnett is at least on some people's radar, probably not Power Five radar, but he's been a successful coach at Mississippi State and has helped that program to turn around. I'm hoping even that is a name that some of you might remember. Tyrone Nix is someone that I think is deserving of a chance somewhere for somebody. He was a person that I sort of started tracking going back to his early career, and now that he's a defensive coordinator, he's been a lot of places. Currently, he's at Tarleton State, but I'm convinced he's not stuck there. I'm hoping he's not stuck there. I mean, he's now 50. That's sort of a breaking point, sort of, as people trend younger and younger and looking at head coaches. A lot of the coaches that I'm going to mention are guys that are sort of on the younger side, at least in part because that seems to be what everyone's interested in. LeVar Woods has also had a good run in his time at Iowa. Iowa is a team that isn't very dynamic on offense, but they've been very good on both defense and special teams. Now, it's always tricky with special teams coaches, but LeVar Woods is maybe thought of as the best young black special teams coach in the country. Also, I'm going to throw out Des Kitchens. Des Kitchens also is a guy that, to be perfectly honest, flew under the radar for quite some time, but I think lately Desmond Kitchens has started to gain a little more attention. He's coached wide receivers, he's coached tight ends, and he's been an offensive coordinator with the Cavaliers, who once again struggled on offense this year, but I think that's more attributable to problems they've had with the offense itself. Alex Atkins is one of the finalists for the Frank Broyles Award, which goes to the top assistant in the country. Florida State, once again, sort of struggled getting out of the box, but is closing strong. I'm hoping that Alex Atkins is consideration maybe for some of the jobs, the smaller jobs in the state of Florida. As then we just lost Willie Taggart. I'm hoping maybe that Alex Atkins will get some consideration there. Also, Tim Lakuba, who is a very young coach. I think he's 42. Don't quote me on that. 41 or 42. He's a guy who is seen as one of the better young defensive coordinators. Probably a better fit for a Midwestern program or Northeastern program. That's where his connections tend to lie. He's not a guy who is likely to excite people as much in the South, quite frankly, even though he did spend some time at Mississippi State in his past, but most of it's been on the East Coast. I can see him working in the Midwest as well. Strongly connected to both Chip Kelly and also to Coach Greg Schiano. The last couple I want to mention, one is Tony White. Now, Syracuse is not known as a defensive juggernaut exactly, but Coach White took a defense that was one of the worst that at least in that part of in that conference, and at least made it, I think, one of the better ones. He's been a linebackers coach in the past. He's also spent some time up in Canada when he was playing. I think he has a really strong understanding of how to defend the pass, and you have to. I mean, that's really what the game's about now. And the last two I'm going to mention, one is Junior Adams, who I remember certainly correctly is also one of the finalists for the Broyles Award. Was a receiver himself, strongly connected to the Northwestern corridor. Has been at Eastern Washington, has been at Boise, he's been at Washington, even was with Western Kentucky as a coordinator. And, you know, Kenny Dillingham, obviously, you know, himself a riser, is someone that worked very closely with Junior Adams. I'm hoping that he gets a chance at one of the jobs, including Stanford, including there. He should certainly be in consideration for that job. And last but not least, I mentioned Chris Marv, who, once again, another feel-old moment for me. I scouted Chris Marv when he was a player. He's very young. Was an all-SEC linebacker himself at Vanderbilt. Is sort of seen as like a really fast riser. Still, you know, very young. I'm hoping that maybe not this cycle, but in the next cycle, Chris Marv should be a name you should hear. But the fact is, it's a problem. And if you're pretending it's not a problem, it either means that you just don't care about these things, and maybe some people don't, or you're a person that doesn't think that fairness should be a part of the equation. Because people say, oh, you know, you can hire what you want or hire who you want. Right, there's nothing like a Rooney Rule in the NCAA, and there isn't. What I would propose is something more like the Gaither Robinson Graduate Coaching Fellowship, right? Where the National Football Foundation, the NCAA, and some corporate sponsor that love to, you know, put their name on things. There's lots of them that want to be associated with college football. I would think it wouldn't be too hard to get Chevy, Ford, somebody to say yes. You know, Microsoft, Surface, right? You know, they could put their little logo on these things for all of these minority coaching candidates who are in a graduate fellowship. That means it takes them off of the payroll of the school. So the school isn't having to lose another coaching position to have this because it's not on their books. This would be, they'd be assigned to more than one program. Not at the same time, obviously, but to give them a more well-rounded experience. So you'd spend, say it's a 3-year fellowship. You spend 1 year at a smaller school, maybe in the Southland Conference, and 1 year at a school in the ACC, and 1 in the Pac-12, or 1 in the Big 12, or 1 in the Big 10, so that you get a well-rounded experience with more than one staff. If you can, especially at the coordinator position, if you can break open the logjam where it's just white, and open it up to minority candidates, then they'll get a chance to get some of these head coaching jobs. So let me know if you think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But I don't think this is an insoluble problem. I think this can get it done, and there's enough good candidates. I didn't name all of them. There's many more good candidates out there, but I just named a few of them. And one last thing, Charles Huff at Marshall. Obviously, we saw that the team upset Notre Dame. I'm not trying to upset my friends at Marshall. I love Marshall. One of my favorite running backs, Kalen Laybourne, who is from 757 Virginia Beach, is there. I hope that they live long and do well. However, you should always hear that name whenever bigger jobs come up. He is a terrific head coach. Okay, I'll throw out one last. I keep thinking of people. See, I could do this for an hour. I won't. But there's some terrific, and I mean terrific candidates. Brendan Marion. Okay, that's the last one, I promise. Brendan Marion was a terrific receiver himself, has been an amazing receiver coach, was at least partially responsible for what happened at Pitt when they were killing it offensively, is a guy that I think in another year or two will probably be a head coach somewhere as well. Okay, for real, that's it.